So hi guys, you're welcome back to my channel. All right, so back to our outline. Okay. um Now the next thing we have is to learn how to draft the basic bodice block half scale. Okay, so let's proceed. Now I just cut out this pattern paper. Okay, and then I just drew my margins. These margins are not compulsory. Okay, but I like to have this so that it's just a guide, okay, for you to know exactly where you're drafting. Okay, now let's proceed. So the first thing you need to do is to determine the widest part of your body. Okay, now we're first going to draft a half scale, then we'll draft a full scale block. Okay, now the widest part of my body is my blouse hip. Okay, now when we were taking our measurements, I forgot to for us to take that measurement. Okay, but it's simply the circumference around where your blouse is going to stop. Okay, so I'm going to show us now how to take the blouse hip measurements. So to take the blouse hip measurements, what I do is to bring my tape, okay, round where my blouse will stop. Okay, now for a full blouse, this is where I put my blouse, just on top of my hip. Okay, on top of my hip bone, okay, which is here. Now the first thing I do is to make it a bit tight. This is 42. Okay, then I add extra 1 inch, so this is 43, and this is the circumference of my blouse hip. Okay, so I needed us to take this out of the way. Okay, so let's proceed. All right, let's proceed. Okay, so the widest part of my body is my blouse hip. Okay, and we got 43 inches. So I'm simply going to divide that into 4, and that will give me 10.75. Okay, so I'll just add 1 inch allowance to that, and that's 11.75. So I'll go ahead and mark that on this pattern paper. Okay, so I'll mark it on one side, 11.75, and I'll mark it on the other side as well. Now, if the widest part of your body is your bust, go ahead and divide that into 4 and add 1 inch to that. Okay, but mine, the widest part of my body is my hip, so I'll go ahead and mark that all through this pattern paper, and we'll connect with a straight line. Okay, then I'll go ahead and connect this with a marker pen. Okay, so this is the space that we're working with. Now let's proceed. So the first thing we need to do is to mark um our shoulder measurement. Okay, now I'm going to be making use of my measurements. All right, so my shoulder is 16. Now half of that is 8, so shoulder measurement is the only thing we're dividing by 2. Okay, so but before we proceed, it's best we label. Okay, so this is our back. Okay, and this is our front. Okay, so we know the parts that we are working with. All right, so let's proceed. See, now the first thing we need to do is to mark our shoulder measurement. Okay, and my shoulder is 16. Okay, so half of that is 8. Now we'll start from the back. Now I'm placing my tape on this green line. Okay, so I'll place my tape like so. Okay, and I'll mark the half of my shoulder measurement, which is 8. Okay, now I'll also repeat the same thing on the front. So I'll place my tape and I'll mark my 8 inches here. Okay, now we need to mark our neck width. And how do you know your neck width? Simply divide your bust round by 12. Okay, and that's your neck width. But standard, you can make use of 3 inches. So I'll make use of the standard, which is 3 inches. Okay, so we're also starting from the back as well. Now I'll mark my 3 inches neck width. Okay, now standard neck depth for the back is 1 inch. Okay, so I'll mark the 1 inch neck depth for the back. Okay, now we'll repeat the same thing in the front. I'll mark my neck width of 3 inches. Okay, and then my neck depth for the front is equally 3 inches. Okay, so this is a standard measurement. Okay, 3 by 3 for the front and 3 by 1 for the back. Okay, now we'll go ahead and connect these measurements. I like you to pay attention to the placement of the curve because it's equally important. Okay, so this is the neckline for the front. Okay, now for the back, you can use this edge here, okay, to connect the 3 by 1, or you can use the inside of the curve like so, whichever you're comfortable with. Okay, whichever you're comfortable with is correct. Okay, and that's the neckline for the back. Okay, so let's proceed. Remember, I told us that I'll be revealing the standard methods, okay, on how to achieve certain measurements. Okay, now for the shoulder slope, now the standard measurement is to come down from the front shoulder slope by 1.5 inches. Okay, 1.5 inches for the front, and you come down by 1 inch for the back. Okay, now I know you'll be wondering why. The reason is that if you look at your dresses or your outfits, you find out that the back actually flows to the front a little. Okay, the back and the front are not equal on the shoulder. The back comes to the front a bit. Okay, so that's the reason for that. Now we'll go ahead and connect these measurements. So we're connecting from the neck width to the 1 inch shoulder slope on the back. Okay, like so, and then we're connecting from the neck width front to the 1.5 inches shoulder slope. Okay, and here we have it. The next thing we need to determine is our chest line. Okay, and how do you determine your chest line? You simply do your bust round divided by 6 plus 1.5. Now this applies to everyone. Okay, so bust round divided by 6 plus 1.5. My bust round is 40, so 40 divided by 6 plus 1.5 will give us 8.16. Okay, but I like to make use of 8. Okay, I like to make use of the whole number. Now that measurement of 8 inches, okay, I will place it from the back. Okay, because if you place it from the front, the armhole is going to be wider. Remember that we have already come down by 1.5 inches here on the shoulder slope. So you place from the back shoulder slope. Okay, so I'll mark my 8 inches from the back shoulder slope. All right, now I need to mark this 8 inches across this block. Okay, and you know it will be impossible because we came down here by 1.5. So what you need to do is to go back to the shoulder line, which is this starting point. Okay, and measure down to that 8 inches you just marked. So what we have here now is 9 inches. Okay, the 1 inch shoulder slope plus our 8 inches that we just got. Okay, that's 9 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark 9 inches across this block. Okay, so I have my 9 here, and I have my 9 here. Okay, so I'll go ahead and connect these lines. Okay, and here we have it. Now this is our chest line. Okay, so I'll call it our CH line. Okay, all right, so on the chest line, the first thing you need to do is to come down and mark your shoulder measurement again. Remember, my shoulder measurement is 16. 16 divided by 2 is 8. So I'll come back to that chest line and I'll mark my shoulder measurement again. That's the very first thing you need to do on your chest line. Okay, so I have my shoulder measurement marked. Now we will need to connect it to our shoulder measurement, okay, on the starting point. So you place your ruler like so. Now pay attention, you place your ruler touching the 8 inches we have on the chest line and the 8 inches we have on the starting point. Okay, so this is how to get a straight line. Okay, Now I'm going to use a broken line to represent this line because we don't actually make use of it. Okay, and here we have it for the front. I'll repeat the same thing on the back. Okay, I'll place my ruler touching the two 8 inches mark, okay, that I have on the chest line and on the starting point. Okay, okay, and here we have it. Okay, so let's proceed with our measurements. Now the next thing that we need to do, so the next thing we need to do is to mark our vertical measurements. Okay, now the first vertical measurement we are marking is our bust point. Okay, and my bust point is 10.5. Okay, now note that bust point applies only in the front. If you can remember when we were measuring, we took these measurements only in the front. Okay, so my bust point is 10.5. All right, now my waist, my front length. Okay, so my front length is 18 inches. Okay, so we'll repeat the same on the back. Okay, so let's mark the length on the back. Okay, so the back length I'm working with is 15.5 inches. Okay, so this is my 15.5 inches. I'll repeat the same thing. Okay, so my back length, now I'll repeat the same 15.5 inches here. Now if you can notice, the difference between my front length and my back length is 2.5 inches. Okay, so that's why you need to take your own measurements. Okay, you need to take your own measurements so that you're sure. Now we'll go ahead and connect these measurements, okay, these markings. And here we have it. Now as usual, we'll label. So this is the front length, let's call it the FL. Okay, and then this is the back length. Okay, so BL as well. Okay, now remember that what we are drafting now is our half scale block. Okay, now the next thing we need to do is to take our round measurements. Okay, now the bust round we're working with is bust 40, so 40 divided by 4 is 10. Okay, now when placing the round measurements, my bust round measurements on the chest line and not on the bust point. Okay, now we need to label this line. This is the bust point. Okay, so we're placing the round measurement. Okay, so we're placing my round bust measurement on the chest line and not on the bust point. Okay, so bust 40 divided by 4 is 10. We'll go ahead and make a mark there. Now the waist round we're working with is 36, and 36 divided by 4 will give us 9. Now place your waist round measurement on the front length. Okay, so 9 inches is the waist round we're working with. Now it's time for us to introduce our dart. Okay, so the dart I want to take is 1.5. Okay, it's advisable you make use of that 1.5 for better fitting. Okay, so I have added it. I first measured my waist round divided by 4, which is 9, and then I added my 1.5 inches. Okay, so I'll go ahead and connect my measurements. Okay, now however your measurement is coming out, don't be worried. This is your measurement. Okay, so this is my measurement. All right, so we'll repeat the same thing on the back. Okay, now for the back. Okay, so for the back, before I place my round measurement for the back, I like to first tighten the waistline. Okay, so let's go ahead and tighten the back. All right, and to tighten the back, I will use 0.5. okay, to tighten my back. Okay, now I marked 0.5 on the back length. Now I'm going to go ahead and extend it to the neckline. Okay, so you place your ruler like so, and we're extending to the neckline. Okay, and here we have it. Now the reason why I decided to tighten before taking my bust measurements is, if you can see this space here, okay, is more than 0.25. Now in pattern drafting, you want to be sure that all your measurements are accurate. Okay, so now that we have tightened the back with 0.5 inch, okay, we'll proceed to take our bust round measurement. Now I'm going to place my tape after this tightening. Okay, I'm placing my tape on this slant line, okay, and not on the center back line. Okay, so I'll place my tape like so, and I'll mark my bust round. And remember, I told us that my bust round we're working with is 40 divided by 4, and that's 10. Okay, there we have it. Now for the waist as well, my waist is 36 over 4 is 9. Now I am placing it here and not on this starting point. Okay, so I'm placing it here. Now I'll place it there and I'll mark my 9 inches. Okay, now for the back, I like to use 1 inch allowance for my dart. Okay, and here's my 1 inch allowance for the dart. Okay, so here we have it. I'll go ahead and connect these measurements as well. Okay, and here we have it. Now we can proceed to connect our arm side. Okay, I know most of us know it as our armhole curve. Okay, but the actual, but the right pronunciation, the right word for this curve here is arm side. Now for the front, the first thing you need to do is to come up from the chest line by 3 inches. Okay, come up from the chest line by 3 inches, and on that 3 inches mark, you go in by 0.75. Okay, so we'll go ahead and connect. So we're connecting from the shoulder tip. So we're connecting from the shoulder tip to the 0.75 mark. Okay, like so. Now I'll come in with my curved ruler. So we've connected from the shoulder tip to the 0.75 we came in with. Now I'll come in with my curved ruler. Okay, and I'm going to place it like so. Now I'm resting it on my bust round measurement, okay, which is here. So you keep rotating your curve till you get till it can connect, okay, like so. Okay, and here we have it for the arm side, okay, for the front. Now the essence of going up by 3 inches and going in by 0.75 is to take care of your across chest. Okay, because many times a lot of people make mistake when they are trying to measure their across chest, okay, for both front and back. But with this, it's going to take care of your across chest well. Okay, but if you're in doubt of the accuracy of these measurements, note that to get your across chest, you simply subtract 2 inches from your shoulder to get your across chest for front. Okay, my shoulder is 16 inches. If you take out 2 inches from there, that will give you 14. 14 divided by 2 will give you 7. So you place it like so and you measure. Can you see? We have 7 inches. We still have an extra of 0.25. Okay, so that tells you that this measurement is correct. Now for the back, we are going to take the midpoint of this line. Okay, so and we have 8 inches here. Middle of it is 4. Okay, and on that 4 inches point, we will come in by ½ inch. Okay, this also will take care of your across chest, okay, for the back. Now we're going to connect from the shoulder tip to the 0.5 inch like so, okay. Then I'll come in with my curve and finish that up, okay. So you can see the way I placed my curve, okay. And here we have it. Our arm side is ready, otherwise known as armhole curve. All right, so this is it. Now the next thing we need to do is to plot our dart, okay. So you remember our bust span that we took on the mannequin. Now my bust span is 4 inches, okay. So you go ahead and place I'll place the 4 inches here, okay, on the front length, and I will make a mark there. I will also place it on the bust point line, and I'll make a mark there. Now note that your dart is not supposed to get to your chest line, okay. So we're stopping it on the bust point, okay. So I'll go ahead and connect these lines with a straight line like so, okay. And here we have it. Now you remember I added 1.5 inches here as my dart allowance, okay. So I'll go ahead and divide that 1.5 inches into 2, and that will give you 0.75, okay. So we're marking 0.75 this side, we're marking 0.75 here as well, okay. Now if you're wondering what is 0.75, okay, so this is your tape, okay. So this is your tape. From here to here is 1 inch, okay. So from here to this first long mark is 0.25, okay. To this point is half an inch, to this point is 0.75, to this another major line is 1 inch, okay. So this is how to read your tape. All right, now let's proceed. I'm going to go ahead and connect my marking, okay. So I'll connect my dart like so, okay. Now I'll repeat the same thing on the back. So for the back, I'll go ahead also and I'll mark my 4 inches bust span, okay. So I'll go ahead and mark my 4 inches bust span. But when you're drafting your back, your dart, okay, on the back, it's not supposed to touch your chest line, okay. So from the chest line you come down by 1 inch, and this is a standard, okay. So you also go ahead and mark your 4 inches, okay. Now this video is going to take care of all your confusions, okay. So I'm not going to skip any part I believe will be helpful to you. So from here, remember we came in here from this back tightening, I marked my 4 inches, okay. Now because we need to mark it here, okay, what you need to do is just take your tape back to the starting point, to this point, okay. Then measuring it to that 4 inches mark, what we have here is 4.75, okay. So this is how I get a straight line. So this is my 4.75 as well. Then I'll come in with my tape, my ruler, okay, and I'll draw a straight line there, okay. Now our dart intake, our dart allowance at the back is 1 inch, so we're dividing it into 2, so that's half inch on each side, okay. So that's half inch here and half inch here. So we'll go ahead now and we're connecting, okay. And here we have it. So the next thing we need to do is to come in with our bust dart, okay. You remember that the back is shorter, okay, and the difference is 2.5 inches, okay. So that 2.5 inches, what you need to do is place your tape on the bust point line like so, okay, and come down by the 2.5 inches or whatever your own difference is, okay. But usually it's between 2 inches to 3 inches, okay, or 3.5, but it's usually between 2 inches to 3 inches, okay. So this is my 2.5 inches. Now I'm going to connect it to this bust point, okay. So I'll place my curve like so, okay. Make sure that it's touching the bust point line and is also resting on the 2.5 mark, okay. And we're going to draw a line outward like so, okay. And here we have it. Now our half scale block is ready, okay. Now what can you do with this half scale block? You can use this to make a peplum blouse. All you need to do is you cut the rest of the length. Let's assume that your full length is 23 inches. So what we have here now, we're working with the front length, and my front length is 18, okay. Okay, so if I want to make a peplum top with this, what I'll simply do is to subtract my front length from my blouse length, okay. And my blouse length is 23 inches. So if I want to make a peplum top, I'll just subtract this 18 inches from the 23, and I'll be left with 5 inches. So I'll go ahead and cut my 360 degrees or my 720 degrees circle, okay, with that length. All right, and that will be it. Now we can also use this to make a dress, okay. Any dress that will involve a half length, okay, you can use this to make it. We can also use this half scale block to make a jumpsuit, okay. Any outfit that will involve a half length, you can go ahead and make use of this. All right, so we will still use this when we are making a dress, okay, but this is it for a half scale block. All right, so in our next video we're going to be making a full scale block. All right, so I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.